It's definitely been a tough couple of construction days. Right now we're definitely limited to just whatever warm day, reasonably warm day we get here in winter. We're in the middle of winter, the end of January, and the temperatures have just been crazy. So we're kind of doing construction in little haphazard steps. We get a day here, we get a day there, but we've had 2 good days. And this is actually the biggest draw we've ever built, or I've ever built. And we're not cabinet makers, and we don't have cabinet making tools, and we're not carpenters. I do the best I can with woodworking, so this was all created with fairly basic tools. A small table saw, 12-inch table saw, a 12-inch drop saw, a jigsaw, a cordless drill, and that's pretty well it, you know what I mean? So a small circular saw. So what we're trying to show you here can all be achieved with fairly basic home woodworking tools. Now, just to give you an idea, this drawer is 33.5 inches wide, and it's 48 inches long, and it's basically 18 inches tall. And the reason being is this is actually meant to be a huge pull-out drawer that comes out from underneath the bed and pulls out the back of the small 118 wheelbase van. So we're trying to maximize the usage underneath the bed and have as much of it pull out. But the reason we went for such a big drawer was basically we're not going to have refrigeration in this van. It's essentially a glorified tent on wheels. You know, but we're going to have cooking and eating and sleeping facilities and a few other niceties in the van. So, but you can basically think of this build not as in we're going to live in the van, not as if we're going to have every luxury and every insulation in the world and wow. It's a glorified tent. It's a luxury tent. But the whole size of this drawer was based on 2 things. I got some big 500-pound capacity headage slide-out drawers. They're like bulletproof. They're like, man, they're going to have no problem handling this heavy drawer, and when it's full of stuff. And they're 48 inches long, so they can come right out of the van at the end of the van. And B, we needed to fit our big Yeti cooler in here because our Yeti cooler is essentially our refrigeration. So this pocket at the front is wide and long enough to have the Yeti, and we'll show this in a later video. We'll put the Yeti in there. But the Yeti can sit nicely in that area, and it'll be the first thing that you pull out, and you can just pop the lid and have access to your refrigeration needs. And this larger area here that's full height is just storage, our camera bags, whatever we can think of. I'm not sure if we need to think about putting a small shelf in there so you're not just packing stuff on top of stuff, but for now, it's going to be the driver's side drawer, and it's the larger of the 2 drawers. The second drawer that's going to be the pull-out drawer is going to be the full kitchen cooking drawer. But compared to this one that's 33.5 inches wide, I imagine the cooking drawer is only going to be about 17 inches wide. So it'll be about half the size, but same length. So we're going to get Miller to move her camera gear. And we're going to just show you some more closer ups of how we actually created this using basic tools, basic stuff. I'm not a carpenter, so I don't want carpenters writing to me. I don't want, oh, you could have done this, you could have done dovetails, we don't have the ability to do any of this stuff. But I'm making what I consider to be a fairly bulletproof setup that's going to last for as long as the van lasts, not going to fall apart, and it's going to carry all the weight, but with basic construction techniques. So what you should be looking at right now is this corner of the large drawer, the Yeti drawer we'll call it. And if it shows in the video, you should see 2 different types of plywood. One has many more plies and one has fewer plies. This is your cheap over here. This is your cheap Home Depot crap. and no offense to Home Depot or anything, but this is not cabinet grade, it is not as strong, and it is not as good. This here is Baltic birch, and it's you can see it has almost twice the plies of the cheap Home Depot. This is what they call cabinet grade, and you'll also see that the two top surfaces are much thicker than what's on the cheap Home Depot stuff. Now there's two things that matter here if you're building something strong like the cabinets and the thing of using cabinet grade. A, it's not going to splay, and the edges aren't going to lift and peel. The screws are going to bind much tighter into the wood. These are many reasons why you want to use cabinet grade. The only reason we used cheap Home Depot here was it's the back end of the drawer that you can't see. I had some left and I didn't just want it to go to waste, and where it is, it doesn't matter. But generally speaking, try to use good quality Baltic birch or something like that, cabinet grade plywood. Alright, right now what you should be seeing in the video is this little corner bracing aluminum piece in here. Now, like I said, we were using fairly basic construction techniques because we don't have the ability to do dovetails and all this different stuff. Alright, so what we've done is basic corner joint with one ply sandwich between the two outer plies, but then just to reinforce the corner, and I'll show you how to make this in a minute, we've actually just gotten some nice right angle aluminum, aluminium in Australia, and I've pre-drilled all the holes downstairs, and we've put these short 5/8 self-tapping screws with washers in to reinforce the corners. And on the inside corners, we're going to do it on all four corners on this big area. There's no need to do the floor, because in a minute you'll see the back or the underneath side of the drawer, and how this ends up being a fairly super strong construction that can support a big, I don't know, it's probably going to be an 80-pound Yeti by the time it's fully loaded. That's the cooler with full of food and everything, and then camera bags and whatever else we're going to fit in here. This thing's probably going to end up carrying, 200 pounds of weight, this drawer, plus the weight of the drawer itself, which is probably another 40 pounds. And like I said, we got these huge 500-pound drawer slides. But let's have a look at the underneath side of the drawer just to give you an idea of how it was constructed. So what's happening right here is we turn the drawer around, you're looking at the bottom side. This is a piece of 32-inch wide by 46.5-inch long. That's the bottom of the drawer, and it's 3/4 plywood. And you're looking at the bottom of it now. You can see there's this little instep and recess. That's so we could put these reinforcing pieces all the way around that help beefing up this drawer and ultimately give it its strength from trying to pull apart or fall apart, and also be able to hold the weight. Like I said, there might be many other ways to do it, but this is how we did it, and we're trying to show you what we did and what we think is going to work for us. So we're going to show a little bit of how that was put together. Alright, so right now just imagine this is actually a piece of off-cut cabinet grade plywood, but imagine that this is actually 3/4 by 1-inch select pine, so it's solid wood, not plywood. And I'm just showing you right now like the construction technique that kind of gives the whole thing the strength in combination with the aluminum corners and everything. So this is 3/4 inch select grade or premium grade pine. This is the base of our big drawer. So I basically took the select pine, the length of the drawer, and absolutely flush with the edge. So this is the bottom of the drawer, and this is underneath the drawer, and then we glued and nailed this the full length, and we did that all 4 corners of the drawer. So we put select pine flush with the edge, glued and nailed on the full length, and flush with the edge. So again, this is the top of the bottom of the drawer. So this is the drawer bottom. This is the select grade or premium grade pine that we put underneath, glued and nailed it. Then the walls of the drawer, after they were all glued and nailed, went down there like that. So you can basically see the sectional view of how the drawer was constructed. So this is the base of the drawer, this is the side of a drawer, and we glued and screwed the sides from underneath, which you can see all the Tech screws that are screwed from underneath the drawer. So that ends up, when all of that is combined on all 4 sides of the drawer, bottom and everything, we have a rock solid construction with fairly basic tools. So I'm just going to show you quickly, this is a fairly thin right angle aluminum. I didn't feel it needed to be much thicker than this. Cut it on the drop saw with a wood blade, but be extremely careful. Aluminium is very dangerous for your eyes, very dangerous, so if you're going to cut it, also make sure it's clamped properly so it doesn't catch, but you want a good quality blade, high speed, and it will dull your blade. But the most important thing is watch out for all the flying aluminum, wear safety glasses. It's really bad, it could get in your eye and the next minute you'll be doing a trip to the doctor. But this is one of the corner brackets for inside the big part of the Yeti drawer. I've made this little stupid piece of wood, and basically I'm just marking out where I'm going to drill the 4 holes. All up there'll be 8 holes. We'll do that right now. So even though we're not carpenters, and even though we're not professional cabinet makers or anything, there's still certain little things that you can do to at least give a professional look to everything you do. You know, for example, the 4 pieces of aluminum, make sure they're all exactly the same length. Use some sort of template or something so that all the holes are the same on all of them. And even from that perspective, I've created this little jig with a small hole, the size of my hole. And when I lay it in the corner of my aluminum where I've marked my where the first hole is going to be, that keeps it the same distance away from the inner edge, so that all the holes are going to be aligned perfectly. It's just little things you can do to make a more professional finish. Alright, we're putting the aluminium corners in, the reinforcing corners. Eight holes, 8 screws. We got number 8 by 5/8 self-tapping screws. That's what they're called in Australia. Wood screws and stainless steel washers. And we're just going to screw them in.